No way. Is that true? I don't know if this is true. Uh-oh. Ibjjf, you messed up, Ibjjf. This is more serious than I thought. Let me switch over to the other side. I didn't know this was going to be... did not know this was going to be a serious post, guys. I'm sorry. Let's all be respectful. It says, hey, everyone. I'm posting this with a heavy heart. Yesterday, a fellow competitor tragically passed away during the Chicago Open tournament this past weekend. Did not hear that on any IBJJF news or Flow Grappling news. You're hearing it here from Alec News. It was an absolutely devastating moment, something none of us ever expect to see at an event that's supposed to celebrate the art we love. What's even more painful is how unprepared the event was to handle a true medical emergency. From what many witnessed, the medical response was slow and uncoordinated. There was no designated medical tent. That happens a lot. No clearly visible rapid response team, and the staff on site didn't appear to be equipped with updated emergency SOPs, standard operating procedures, or training for this kind of life or death situation. We are all aware of the risk when we sign the waiver and step on the mat. However, this should never happen again. IBJJF, what's going on? We're at a point where the sport has grown internationally, with high-level events drawing hundreds, if not thousands, of competitors and spectators. Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu Con's going to have 1,000 kids in the no-gi, so I'm hoping they have a prepared medical staff there. Yet somehow the infrastructure for athlete safety hasn't quite caught up. The IBJJF, as the leading organizing body for BJJ competition, must do better. Establish a mandatory on-site medical stations or tents at every event. Ensure every event has trained, licensed paramedics or trauma-ready staff present. Implement and publish updated SOPs, which is standard operating procedures for handling severe medical emergencies. Create visible emergency protocols and ensure staff/volunteers are trained in them. Lives depend on this. Yesterday's tragedy wasn't just a freak accident. It was a wake-up call. The community deserves better, and the athletes who put their bodies and health on the line absolutely deserve better. Please share your thoughts or stories if you've ever seen a medical negligence or delays at tournaments. That happened to me at Pans. I couldn't find the medical tent, and I was asking, and there was no help anywhere. Let's talk about how we can hold organizations accountable and make sure safety becomes a priority. All solutions or constructive criticisms are welcome. RIP to the competitor who lost their life. My heart goes out to their family, teammates, and everyone affected by this terrible loss. Stay safe out there, everyone. It says, I won't ever compete at IBJJF anytime soon. I might compete at ADCC or Who's Number One or even EBI. They're not much better, I don't think, with the medical staff. Yeah, RP. And it's sad to hear that, man. That could be me or some of my friends out there waiting to get help at the tournament, and then we didn't hire any staff, Alec. I'm sorry. It says there should be a defibrillator at every comp. At minimum in NYC last time I went to the tournament, there was paramedics. NYC don't play. It says, yeah, they are common in a lot of public places here in Australia, and they all guide you through how to use them. They're not even expensive. I mean, if $1,500 is too expensive to save a life, then I don't know what to say. IBJJF ain't going to spend that $1,500. It says around 4 years ago, this happened at an IBJJF tournament I attended. A competitor who was choked unconscious went into full heart failure and was clearly dead on the mat. Several attendees who were trained in emergency medicine saw what was happening from the sidelines and immediately jumped the barriers to start doing chest compressions. Incredibly, they brought him back, not once but twice. He would have been long past saving by the time the ambulance arrived. A very scary situation with a happy ending, but it definitely changed my outlook on a lot of things. RIP to the guy this weekend. That really sucks. Respectfully, what happened to the competitor was the result of something that happened during a match. This is not a medical profession, but from what I was told from a young woman who alerted the medical staff and witnessed the entire thing from the beginning, he went to sit down in the bleachers after his match. His face went green, then ghostly white. Eyes rolled to the back of his head, and then he collapsed. Yeah, oof. My guess is cardiac arrest or low oxygen. Rest in peace. I actually slipped and almost tore my glute on Saturday in my open weight semifinal there this weekend. I went to get ice, and the medical staff told me to go do deep stretches, which you obviously never do in the initial phase of a strain or tear. I wasn't expecting much from Chicago Open medical staff, but that was pretty common knowledge. Someone says, I got a severe concussion at World's Masters a few years back, like unconcussed on the mats for several minutes. Concussion. Not an oops, I took a straight elbow and feel a little off. I have no recollection of the day and very little where was I at? Very little recollection of the day and very little of the days around it, and had 8 months of severe PCS symptoms. From what my friends tell me, they were just told to keep an eye on her. No paperwork, no recommendations for follow-up when I got home, and no suggestions of hospital. I 100% should have been sent to the hospital, bearing that there should have been paperwork done and given to me / my coaches, bearing that I would have been supervised for a long time by the medics before being released. None of these happened. RIP to the competitor who lost their life, and I fully agree with everything you wrote. Hope you also are doing well after witnessing that. Things like that aren't easy. I'm sorry to hear about that, and I agree things need to change. There was an interview a few days ago with Anna Carolina Vieta, we talked about her, the girl doing CGI, about the same issue. She was choked at the World Championships and didn't wake up for several minutes. Afterwards, they made her get up so her opponent could get her hand raised. She couldn't even make it to the podium to get her silver medal, and Ibjjf wouldn't call an ambulance until one of the Gracies threatened them. Anna doesn't remember any of this and remembers waking up in the hospital. If they treat a multiple-time black belt Brazilian world champion like that, how do you think they will treat everyone else? They need to fix this. Accidents happen, but there is no reason for a multi-million-dollar company to have unsafe environment like that. Nothing new with IBJJF. Someone says Ibjjf is the most expensive circuit, and they're consistently the worst I've competed in. No warm-up space when paying $160 to compete. They are changing that. They're putting more warm-up spaces there, but they need better trained medical staff. And, it needs to be easily accessible. They need to have a tent. They need to have some letters saying medical help, medical response team. They need to have the defibrillator there. They need to have ice there. They need to have some real medical trained people there and real stuff. How many times have you been there? We ran out of ice, or we don't have tape, or we don't have this, we don't have that. So I'm hoping we pay a lot of money to compete. So I'm hoping they invest that money back into the athletes and to the, the equipment and stuff.